Anyway, welcome everybody. Sorry about the strange introduction. Uh, technology maybe not my strongest point, but okay, what is my strongest point is bringing really awesome people to come talk to you guys about things that are really important. So for today's session, since we've been doing MCO and CMCO for so many months, I think we've been hearing from a lot of teachers and a lot of students as well that they've been feeling a lot of like back pain, neck strain, eye strain, headaches, and things like that. And so what we wanted to do was to bring you a little bit of relief, okay? So we have friends who've opened Synapse Physiotherapy, which is a physiotherapy clinic, super close to Chempaka. In fact, it's so near Chempaka, it's right above Secret Recipe. And then so we thought that we'd actually invite one of their senior physiotherapists to come speak to us about how you can maintain your postural and spinal health during this time of working from home. Okay, so I'd like to introduce Maggie Lim, and so she'll be here to talk to us about your physical and spinal health. Okay, and she's going to give us some tips on how to actually use your workstation and do stretches at home in order to be able to make sure that you don't incur any sort of injuries in these difficult times. Okay, so with that, let's take it away, Maggie.
Hi, thank you so much, Christabel, and welcome. Hello to everybody from Chempaka International School. First off, I want to thank Christabel for arranging this session today. And I think the concern that she relayed to us was that she noticed a lot of teachers and students were actually not sitting right, be it during your classes or if you're a student, you're watching your teacher teach you, if you're a teacher and you're teaching. And she saw a lot of awkward sitting and even presenting postures that, through your Zoom calls and your Google Meet calls. Well, so I bet a lot of you are here today is because either you're having some sort of back pain or neck pain, or somehow this work from home routine is getting to you, right? And it's not normal. Well, ever since COVID hit, it's become a global pandemic around the world. Every country on its own has introduced some sort of lockdown, respectively. So it could be a lockdown, full lockdown, a partial lockdown. Locally here in Malaysia, we're so familiar with the words MCO, CMCO. And one thing that we can tell is that these things are not going to go away anytime soon, right? And these things are out of our control. So there are things that we can do, and how we respond to this is actually to adapt to this new normal and to also try to regain as much control as we can over the current situation. So a lot of these neck and back aches that we do experience from working from home, they stem from poorly designed workstations from our homes or the poor postures that we're adopting at home. And I don't blame you for that, because our homes were never fashioned to be a workspace. It's supposed to be a place that you go home to relax and, to chill after work. And suddenly, all of a sudden, we are forced to use our sanctuary, as per to say, to actually start working. So what we can do is, what if I tell you that we can actually take control of these things, right? So your workstation, totally modifiable. Your posture, you can actually correct them as well. So whether you are a parent, you're a teacher, you're a student, there's something for everybody here today. So before I start off on my presentation, I'm just going to start sharing some slides and give you a brief introduction about myself as well. So let me just get to the slides here. Right. Okay, so today our talk is titled Converting Your Work Desk into a Stretch Station. And like we were speaking about just now, how we can actually modify our workspace to be something that is of use to us that will not cause as much back or neck pain to our bodies, right? So just a little bit about myself. I've been a physio at Synapse since 2014. And as a physio, I am interested in and I'm passionate about treating shoulder dysfunctions and injuries. So I've seen a wide range of clientele, which have included students, working adults, right up to the elderly, semi-professional and professional athletes as well. And also a physio, I love my running and I love a good cup of coffee. Okay, let's come back to the real talk here. Now, before we go into talking about how we can convert your workspace into a stretch station, I will need to speak a little bit to you about the anatomy of the human spine. And this is just to give you a rough context on what are the possible structures that could be causing your back and neck pain at work. What are the signs and symptoms to actually look out for, and how you can actually manage your back and neck pain at home. And then we're going to talk about this huge thing called ergonomics. Such a big word, but a very simple meaning behind it. And a physio talk is not complete without some exercises. So I'll show you some stretches that you can do for your neck, for your back, to actually provide you some relief if you need some. All right, so talking about ergonomics, I'm just going to show you and put up this slide talking about statistics on ergonomic injuries, and you can have a look at it. So what is ergonomics? Ergonomics is nothing but the art or the science of designing your workspace or designing your work equipment to actually conform to your own capability. So it's nothing but designing your workplace to be ideal and to be comfortable for you to work. So now, let's say if you're going to be working from home, you've got to make your workspace and your desk as comfortable as possible, that is healthy for your spine, not just your mental health, but your physical health as well. So ergonomic chairs, ergonomic tables and equipment, there's nothing wrong with them. But what I'm trying to say is that because we are built differently. So some of us are tall, some of us are short, some of us are built small size, big size. So there's no one equipment out there that is totally customized to your body shape or to your body build, right? So what might be, let's say, suitable for me might not be suitable for Christabel or not might be suitable for any one of you out there. So you can get those things, but you've got to adapt them accordingly to your own body. All right, so looking at the last statistic on the slide here, isn't it scary to know or to see that working 5 hours or more per day can actually start causing some neck pain or even back pain to our lower backs or our necks? And we definitely work in front of our PC more than 5 hours a day. All right, so this is just a statistic that you ought to keep in mind, and we'll go further on how you can modify your workstation later into the presentation. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the anatomy of the human spine. So basically, our spine is made up of 4 main structures. Firstly, we have the spinal bones, all right, or we call them the vertebrae. Now, there are 3 main sections of our spine, the cervical spine, which is your neck spine, your thoracic spine, which is your mid spine, and your lumbar spine, which is your lower back. The sacrum and the coccyx are nothing but what we know as the tailbone, all right? So now, in between these bones that we have, you can look at my cursor right now. So this yellowish brownish structure on the side here, these are your vertebrae and these are your bones. In between them is actually a bluish gelatinous type of structure, and these are called intervertebral discs. So these discs are actually wedged in between your bones to provide flexibility and movement to your spine. So if I don't have these discs in between my bones, I'm not going to be able to bend forwards, bend backwards, bend sideways, and rotate my body to the side. So out of these bones and these structures as well, we have your nerves that are exiting these bones, okay? Finally, we have the outer layer, which are your muscles. So these are your back muscles towards the back, and also your muscles, your core muscles in front. These are your neck muscles. Now, if you look at the diagram on the right, you see a lot of red spots on the neck and on the shoulder, right? So these are common spots that tend to get tight or sore or painful when people suffer from neck pain. And again, we'll go more into detail about these trigger points or these painful spots later into the presentation. Now, what actually causes our back and neck pain? A lot of them, which is the main sort of focus point of our presentation today, is posture. So if you have a look at this diagram, right, there are 6 people standing right here. And these are the 6 most common postures that we can actually find in our community or in the people around us. So we look at these patients, we say, oh, it's quite funny, right? That people are standing this way and say, oh, I'll never ever stand this way. But let me tell you, I mean, I used to take the train a lot when I was working in KL. And on the train, I used to actually observe a lot of people. And I have seen every single one of these postures, the way that people stand on the train, all right? So, and a lot of us have this misconception that standing like this goose-like, like this lady right here, and this person standing on guard, like a military uptight pose, we tend to think that these postures are correct postures because these people are standing upright, right? But nope, we're wrong. So look at this lady here in green. So if I'm going to define correct posture while I'm standing up, I'm going to draw a midline from my head right down to my toe. So what I want to be seeing is my ear should fall in the middle of my shoulders, shoulders in the middle of my hips, to my knees, and to my feet. So everything should be divided and distributed equally. So if you're standing any other than this green lady here in the center, there is probably some fault in your posture. All right. So standing posture, very important. The next thing that we're going to deal with is the way that we look at our phones, right? We talk a lot about new normal these days, but this has been a norm in our society for many, many years. I guess since the invention of our mobile phones, our cell phones. And when the smartphone came out, it's even worse. I mean, nowadays, just take a look around, look at your children, look at your parents, look at your teachers, and look at the society around us today. So younger folks, would probably be spending a lot of time on their phone, checking on their social media, your TikTok, your Instagram, your Facebook. And the more mature crowd will probably be looking at their phone for, the latest COVID coronavirus news, right? But let's put it this way. Our head actually weighs 4 to 5 kilograms on an average. That's about 9 to 11 pounds. Now, look at this man on the left-hand side here. He is actually looking at his phone at a 45-degree angle. Now, with every degree that my head falls in front or falls forward, it's going to weigh 1 pound extra. So 45 degrees is not too great of an angle, So if you can imagine, 90 degrees is looking all the way down. 45 degrees is just halfway up. 45 degrees is actually a very normal position that we adopt when we look at our phones. Now, if you imagine that the average weight of our head is 4 to 5 kilograms, 9 to 11 pounds, and you're going to be looking at your phones like this, 45 degrees for the next 2 or 3 hours. Can you imagine? Your neck is taking 45 or 49 pounds of weight for the next 2 or 3 hours. Our necks and our spine is not meant to take that much weight. So eventually, the further that we look down, the heavier our head weighs. One day, we're just going to end up headless and our heads are just going to roll on the ground. All right? No, just kidding. But our bodies are very smart. Our bodies tend to learn to compensate for what we are lacking in our neck. It'll actually transfer down to our mid-spine and our lower back. And that's why some people, starting off with neck pain, they can end up getting mid-spine pain and also lower back pain. So watch the way that you're actually looking at your gadgets. Now, what we're really here for working from home, looking at our sitting posture, which is something that I would want to touch on a little bit more. So looking at this diagram on your left, on the right-hand side, if you think that any of these diagrams display proper posture, then okay, I'll have to stop you there. Now, look at the first picture, right? Look at this lady right here, the way that she's looking at her laptop. Now, we can look at this photo and say, yeah, I'll never ever sit like that. But you don't know, because if you're going to be working in front of your work desk for 8 to 10 hours, you're not going to be able to tell that, your head is falling in front so much. You're so engrossed in your assignments, your teaching, your studying, doing your reports. Now, look at this picture on the left-hand side. What is wrong with this picture? Can you see the way that her neck is so protruded in front and it's just falling out? Remember this diagram that we were looking at? Head falling out 45 degrees, 60 degrees, 75 degrees. So her head is probably weighing at about 60 pounds right now. And imagine working at your work desk like this for the next 8, 10, 12 hours. And your neck is just taking 60 pounds. When my neck is only supposed to take how much? 9 to 11 pounds, right? So no wonder people start getting neck pain, because what my neck can't take, look at her mid-spine and the way that she's slouching forwards. She has started to compensate for that heavy head that's falling in front. Now she's starting to slouch. And when she slouches, her front chest muscles actually get really tight, and it's just going to pull her shoulder forwards even more. All right, now going to diagram B. Looking at the photo, okay, her neck and her mid-spine is not too bad. It's tucked in quite well. But look at her lower back, all right? So when we sit this way, when we slide down all the way to the edge of the chair, the spine actually starts to bend and to curve. And when the spine does that again for prolonged hours, there is just so much pressure on the intervertebral discs, because our lower back is supposed to have a nice reverse C curve, and that's supposed to actually support our body weight. But if you're going to sit like that, that C curve is no more. And you're just going to put so much pressure, and one day these discs are just going to sort of break or leak. And that's where you start hearing people saying, oh, I've got a case of slip disc. So both ways, can you see? Sitting posture, very important. If we don't take care of these postures, they can actually be very detrimental to our neck and our lower back spine. Okay, so the next one that we often see in a lot of men or boys is the wallet syndrome. So guys tend to actually put a lot of their wallets or their phones in their back pocket. Maybe some ladies too, that you have some habit of putting a bit of your purse, your handphone, or some notes, some cash in your back pocket. Look at the diagram on the left-hand side. So that's a diagram of a normal pelvis and a normal hip and a normal lumbar spine, right? So this is actually your lower back spine. Now, the diagram on the right shows you that the wallet has actually shifted the pelvis and hip to be lopsided to one side, and in this case, towards the right-hand side. Can you see what's happening to the lumbar spine? So the lower back is actually curving to follow the direction of the pelvis and the hip. And that's not the only thing that's happening right here. Now, if I'm going to have something at the bottom of my pelvis, at the bottom of my pelvis runs the sciatic nerve. Prolonged compression on the sciatic nerve can actually start causing numbness and tingling down towards my knees, my thighs, my ankle, and my feet. And that's when you start hearing people saying, oh, I've got some shooting pain down my legs, I've got this numbness and tingling. Now, this wallet syndrome doesn't only exist with people who put things in their back pocket. Look at the way that you are sitting at home when you conduct your classes, or when you go for your classes. Do you sit on the floor and do you tend to veer towards one side? Because that's the same thing, all right? And if you're not careful, because of the way that the spine curves, it can actually cause a condition called scoliosis. And scoliosis is nothing but the abnormal curvature of our spine. So the spine can curve away from the midline in our mid-spine and also in our lower back. So we've got to be very careful with the way that we position ourselves when we sit down and do our work, right? So some things that we can actually look out for. It always starts off with a simple ache or a simple soreness over our neck and our back. And then we go to the pharmacy, we get a deep heat rub, our counter pain, our salon pass, maybe some yoko to just relieve the muscle tension and the tightness. And yeah, it does go away, because that's just the beginning and warning signs of our body telling you that, hey, I think the muscles are starting to get a little bit tight. Muscles are starting to get a little bit weak. Just warning you. And we don't take these warning signs, we take these warning signs for granted. And then when it starts to progress to things like getting more frequent headaches because of your neck pain, you start to get buttock pain and pain that's shooting down your legs, your arms, numbness, tingling, pins and needles. That's when we see it as something more serious already. So that's starting to show us signs of some sort of nerve impingement. Now, when it gets to a point where you are not able to do your activities of daily living, you can't get up from your seat, you can't get up from your bed in the morning, that's when you know, okay, it's getting quite serious and you should probably start seeking some medical attention. I would say, even if it starts as a frequent neck soreness, back soreness, that's when you should seek some medical attention already. Prevention is always better than cure, and I will actually explain to you later on what exercises and what can be done from a physiotherapy point of view, right? So the most important part of why we are here today is, how can you actually manage your back and neck pain? Well, at home, you can put some sort of hot or cold therapy to actually reduce any pain or any sort of tightness and soreness in your muscles. There are a lot of supports and braces out there to actually provide a little bit more of support for your neck and back when you're aching. Myofascial release is nothing but a good deep tissue release, a soft tissue release over your lower back or your neck muscles. But I'm going to speak to you and emphasize to you more on the exercises portion, and also how you can actually manage your posture at home. So coming back to the topic of ergonomics. So people are always asking me, can I go and purchase this chair, this mattress, this pillow? And you can. There's nothing wrong with it, like I mentioned in the beginning. But how do I actually do something that is actually more customizable for me and for myself. And you know what? It's very simple. And you can actually do this at home with what you have right now. Okay. So first things first, what I need you to do is change your sitting position and your posture. Please get seated in front with a table in front of you. All right. Stop doing your work sitting down on the floor, sitting down on your bed, sitting down on your sofa, your couches. That is not going to give you good posture. Trust me, you've got to start placing your laptops, your gadgets, your tablets on a table. So if you're working with a desktop already, good on you. That already sets you in front of a table. But if not, you've got to start putting your gadgets on the table. Now look at this lady right here. What is she doing right? First things first, once you've gotten your table, set your laptop or desktop or your tablets at eye level. Now, when I start setting my devices at eye level, what I tend to do less is I will tend to protrude my head in front a little bit less, and I won't be actually backwards. And you've got to sit right towards the end of the chair. Sit your buttock right towards the end. So don't ever sit on the edge of the chair. If you do that, again, the tendency of you poking your head out is much higher, and we don't want that. And look at how she is positioned her arms right on the armrest. Again, if you have a chair with an armrest, even better. If not, try to sit as close to the table as possible with your hands rested at 90 degrees. So 90 degrees is nothing but getting your arms in an L-shaped position. You don't want the arms raised up because that's going to cause you to shrug your shoulders, and you're going to start feeling tightness all over your neck and your shoulder muscles. And look at her knees, look at her feet. Your feet should be rested on the ground. If your feet can't reach the ground and it can't touch the ground, get a stool, get a bench so that you can actually level out and get your feet also in a 90-degree position. Try not to cross your legs, try not to cross your knees. That's because that will again change the position of your hips and your pelvis. And remember, we were talking about scoliosis earlier. We don't want the spine to start compensating for the awkward position that you land yourself in. So this is the ideal sitting position that you should be looking out for and that you should be adopting for yourself at home. So see, it's pretty simple, right? You don't really need a lot of other devices out there to help you to achieve this ideal sitting position. And reset your posture every hour. Okay, so I know in this modern day we are constantly busy. You know, we've got a very hectic schedule, and if you can't remember to tell yourself to reset your posture every hour, guess what? You know, we've got your smartphones, you've got your smartwatches. Just put a reminder. You know, put it at every hour to just buzz you, to just let you know that okay, I should be pushing my shoulder backwards, I should be tucking in my chin, I should be getting my feet on the ground. And it's a good way to sort of change up your body posture every, once in 1 hour so that your muscles don't stay in the same position for a long time. All right. So with that being said, are you guys ready for some exercises? So I'm going to show you a series of photos, and I'll just guide you along with the photos on some simple stretches that you can do for your neck, for your mid back, and also for your hips and your lower back, right? So let's begin with a simple neck stretch, all right? So the diagram on the left-hand side, as you can see, will just get you to bring your ear to your shoulder. So if I'm going to stretch my left side, I'm going to bring my right ear to my right shoulder and get your hand to actually pull onto your ear and pull it down to as much as you can until you feel a gentle stretch over your left side of the neck. You want to be holding this stretch for 15 seconds, and you can repeat them for 3 to 5 times on each side. All right. Okay, so done with that, and you can repeat the same thing on the other side as well. So each side you want to be doing 3 to 5 times, hold it for 15 seconds. If you want to do a variation to target a different muscle, you can. Looking at the lady on the right-hand side, you can actually firstly bring your right ear to your right shoulder, turn towards your right shoulder and look down. Use your hand to actually pull onto your head and look towards your opposite hip. All right, so let me repeat that again. If I'm going to stretch the left side of a different neck muscle, I want to be looking down towards my right hip to stretch my left neck. I'm just going to use my hand to add an extra pressure and look down. Hold that for 15 seconds. Repeat for 3 to 5 times. So that's the first neck stretch that you can do. The next thing is to remember drawing that midline from my head to my toe. I've got to get my ear aligned into the midline of my shoulder. So what I'm doing is a very simple chin tuck. If you find this movement of pushing your head backwards too aggressive, what you can do is just do a simple nodding motion. All right, so as if you're saying yes, nod down and hold it for 5 seconds, release. Okay, so that's going to teach your body to always keep your chin tucked in and not protruded forwards. So very simple. You can do this for 10 times. Hold that for 5 seconds each time that you do this. All right, now this one is a little bit more tricky. You would need a chair that has some sort of backrest resting right at your mid-back. Now, what this exercise does is it's actually going to start opening up your chest muscles, and it's also going to actually give some mobility towards your mid-spine. All right, so you're just going to put your hands behind your neck. Make sure you are supporting your neck 100%. Your neck shouldn't be the one that is moving. It's just your mid-back leaning on the backrest and moving as much as you can backwards. Do not arch your lower back, all right? So you're just working on your mid-spine. For this exercise, you don't really have to hold, just 2 to 3 seconds to stabilize yourself and look back up. And you can do this for 5 to 10 times. Now, something also for the mid-spine, getting your spine to move sideways. Again, get your palms behind your neck and just move from side to side, all right? And this is just going to give some flexibility to your mid-spine and to the side back muscles as well. So the first one, I'm moving my spine backwards. This one, I'm moving my mid-spine from side to side. And this one is nothing but just grabbing onto your chair support. Be careful with this movement. You're just rotating your spine to the side, again, once more to gain flexibility to your spine. Now, something for people who have a bit of buttock pain or pain that's coming from your lower back that's shooting down your legs, right? This one actually stretches the deep muscle of your buttock and your hips. So looking at her again, what I'm going to do is just get you to cross. Let's say we're stretching the right side. Get your right ankle onto your left knee, like so in the picture. Sit up straight, don't slouch. And I'm going to get you to put your hands and your palms on your right knee. Give a gentle pressure, push down. Once you've started feeling a stretch on your buttock and also a bit on your thigh, I want you to lean forwards and lean straight in front. Hold that for about 15 seconds and then lean backwards. Now, the key word here is keep your back straight. Do not slouch and do not arch your back because that's going to cause unnecessary tension to the other muscles of your back. All right. So once you feel that nice, gentle stretch on your hip and your thighs, hold it for 15 seconds and then lean backwards. Now, if you have some sort of back pain from doing this motion, just stop. It might not be suitable for you, right? You can repeat for the other side as well. And this one is actually a good motion. Let's say if you're stuck in your meetings or your classes for 2 to 3 hours, I can't get up from my seat because I'm stuck in this meeting, I'm giving a presentation, I can't move around. Well, this exercise is called pelvic rocking. And what you're doing is we are actually changing the position of your hips from getting yourself into a slouch position. You're just going to push your hips in front and look at what's happening to her hip and to her lower back. So the moment I sit in front of my PC for a long time, I'm going to a lot of us end up in a slouch position. Put your hands and your thumbs on your hip bone and just push them forwards until you feel your lower back starts to arch. That's when you know you have altered the position of your pelvis. And again, it's called a rocking motion is because you're actually pushing it forwards, backwards, forwards, and backwards, and you're changing the position of the pelvis and the lower back. This one you can do 10 to 20 times, one set in the morning, one set in the evening, or whenever you're stuck in a meeting, whenever you're stuck in the traffic jam, long driving hours, this is perfect. Okay, and this exercise here again is going to stretch the superficial layers of my hips and also the back thigh muscles here. All right. So the first picture will stretch your glutes, which are your hip muscles. So again, if I'm stretching my left side, I'm just going to cross my legs slightly, put my hands this time. Just now, the piriformis stretch, we were putting our hands on the front portion of my knee, right? This one, I'm putting it behind, and just bring your left knee towards your right shoulder. So again, I'm working on opposite directions. So pull it up, back straight, hold for 15 seconds, repeat 3 times per side. Now, the other one that we're looking at on the right-hand side is stretching the back thigh muscles, which are your hamstrings. Just get your leg and knee straightened in front of you. Just lean forwards and try to stretch and hold that position for 15 seconds. Again, if you have back pain from leaning forwards, don't do this stretch. It is modifiable, but this is a general stretch that you can do when you're seated in front of the PC for a long time. All right, so do you guys feel better now? I hope you do. Incorporate this sort of stretches into your workspace. So just a bit of recap and summary of what we've gone through today. So the gist of, what is actually causing our back and neck pain while working from home is nothing but posture and poor posture. So if we're going to spend a lot of time doing something, be it teaching your classes, or if you're a student, if you're attending classes, or if you're a parent, you're also working from home. The main thing is, if you're going to spend a lot of time doing something, we got to do it right? So if I'm going to be sitting for 8, 10, 12 hours, you want to be sitting right for 8 to 10 to 12 hours, because eventually our bodies will all give way and they'll go for wear and tear. The muscles that are not supposed to support your posture and support your back while you work, they're going to go into overdrive, and people end up with neck and back pain. And all these things are actually modifiable. So you can actually modify your workspace. You can set your PC at the right level and changing it to actually work in front on the desk and not working from your beds, from your couches, from your sofa. That makes a huge difference. And trust me, once that becomes a good habit, that's going to do you a world of wonders. So thank you for your time. And I think we're going to move into a session of Q&A right now. So yes, thank you and well wishes from Synapse. Let me just hand over the time back to Christabel.
Okay, thank you so much, Maggie. I think that was really great. Lots and lots of really. I think we definitely learned a lot. Actually, so and in terms of, maybe you can also help a little bit. Okay, so we talked a lot about posture, and I mean, for me, when I first started being aware of my posture and how bad it was, I think when you first start correcting it, it's actually very painful. So like your body is really used to kind of like being slouched and all that. Then it's like, this is so painful and uncomfortable. So how can we kind of like get over that?
Okay, so yes, you're right in the sense that changing your posture. Let's say we've been sitting and adopting this posture for the past 20 or 30 years. It's definitely not going to feel comfortable the moment we start to reset our posture. And that's why the exercises are important, right? So it's not just about conscious awareness. Yes, I need to push my head back. I need to reset my shoulders and push my shoulders back. Yes, that is the neurological part. If I can be a bit more scientific on that sense, that we are telling our body constantly that, okay, every hour I need to reset my posture. But we also need to do the exercises to supplement that conscious awareness. All right. So using those exercises, the stretches that I've shown earlier, right, that's going to loosen up a bit of the muscles. So it frees the muscles for you to actually reset your posture. So give it, some time, probably the first 1 or 2 weeks, it's not going to feel great. It's not going to feel comfortable. But after you've done some stretches, and then when we progress, let's say, for example, at physio, we'll actually progress you to a lot more of core strengthening exercises. Once I get those exercises in, and I follow a good, regimen of exercises, that's the one that's going to, give you that good posture, that sustenance, and that endurance to actually upkeep that posture. But yes, I agree with you. It's not going to feel comfortable in the beginning. So we've just got to, work through the pain the first 1 or 2 weeks or so. And if you're disciplined, progress with some strengthening exercises, and also just, put it into your mind consciously as well.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so from some of our teachers, we have a couple of questions, and I'll
Yes,
just
sure.
combine them because they're similar questions. But I think
Okay.
questions from Miss Evelyn and Miss Top is that they
Yeah.
want to ask about sort of like chairs and seating. So Miss
Okay.
Evelyn is asking, like, about the material of the chair. Does that sort of matter? Does it have to be
Okay.
a hard chair? Does it have, I mean, is it better if it's hard or if it's cushioned? And then
Mm-hmm.
is also asking about sort of like keeping your back straight. So I think that she
Yeah.
sits against the wall. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
sits against the wall, and is that correct or not correct? So if you give us a bit more tips on like what makes a good chair, what we
I
should be looking
see.
out for, and
Okay.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So, hi, Miss Evelyn and Miss Talk. All right, thank you for your questions. So, I'll answer Miss Evelyn's question first on whether the material of the chair is important. So, okay, like I mentioned before, right, it's the same question as when people ask, what sort of mattress should I get to sleep? What sort of pillow should I get? Should I get a firm mattress? Should I get a firm pillow? Should I get a soft pillow? Should I get a soft mattress? That kind of thing. I would say, the material, it is very much dependent on your body shape and your body fit. So let's say, for example, I'm a person who slouches a lot, all right? So that already sort of changes the curve and the position of my spine, all right? So if that makes sense, if the person is always sitting slouched like this, then I would definitely say you need a more firm type of material to sit on because that's going to give you a bit more of support, all right? So if you're always sort of pushed in front, meaning you're somebody who sits upright and uptight all the time, you probably want to go for something that is more mid-range, so a bit more medium type of material. But I would say the material is not as important as the curvature of the chairs. All right. So you can see there's some chairs out there, right? They have this lumbar support over on the chairs, all right, and they call them ergonomic chairs. Some chairs don't have any support at all, but most of your office chairs nowadays come with those lumbar support. So if that lumbar support, if after you've sat down for a long time, right, and you feel that, oh, my back starts to ache and it's not comfortable, again, modify it for yourself. Just put a small pillow or a small towel on your lower back and just sit on it. So that immediately, that changes the architecture of the chair and it's something that is more comfortable for you. But for some people, let's say with that lumbar support, they sit and they feel comfortable, then by all means, go ahead, don't change anything, with regards to the chair. So I would actually go more for the curvature and the shape of the chair rather so much, not so much about the material of the chair as well. So as long as your feet, again, is touching the floor, and as long as it's comfortable for your back, as long as if it's not comfortable, putting that pillow or that towel behind your lower back, that's going to help a lot as well. So be it, if it's a hard or firm material and soft material, we usually don't particularly encourage soft material because if it's too soft, you're definitely going to lose your back support already, and you're definitely going to slouch. Just like soft sofas and couches and cushions, when we watch TV in the living room, we don't recommend patients with back pain to be sitting on soft couches because that's going to be very detrimental for the back. You're going to start slouching and then you're going to start losing your lower back curve. So something I would say maybe between, medium range and slightly firm if you would like to actually sit on this type of chairs, but never go for too soft of a material because that's not going to give you that support. All right. Does that answer the question?
I think
Okay. And yes, and Miss Talk's question was, sorry, Christabel, could you repeat the second question?
her question is about sitting up against the wall. So I think she used to do
Okay.
this quite a lot. So sit just like with your back against the wall. Is that correct?
Okay, okay, all right. Again, talking about curvatures of the spine, right? Sitting against the wall, that will give you a temporary sort of upright posture. And again, what might be suitable for me might not be suitable for you, or let's say Miss Top. So sitting on the wall, that kind of diminishes a bit of our spinal curves, all right? So our spine also has curves. So our neck spine is supposed to curve invertly, inverse C shape. Our mid spine is supposed to have a little bit of that C-shaped curve, and our lower back is supposed to have that reverse C shape again. So your neck curve and your lower back curve is supposed to be the same, all right? So it's an inverse C. Now, if I sit my back all the way towards the wall, that flattens some of the curves of the spine. All right. So eventually, you're not going to feel particularly comfortable sitting with your back, your full spine straight against the wall, right? It's not going to allow you some curvatures. And that's why companies have started to come up with those chairs with that lumbar support that gives you that inverse C shape. So that, because they found out that, maybe sitting upright against the wall is too straight for the spine. So you can do that if, say, you've been slouching the whole day and you feel like you just need to stretch out the spine. That's how we give certain stretches to our patients anyway, but not for long periods of time. Anyway, if you're sitting against the wall, I'm guessing you're sitting on the floor. So sitting on the floor is not good at all because the floor is too hard, and you're just going to get a lot of shock absorption directly from the floor to your buttock right up to your lumbar spine. Let's say if I sit on a chair supported, there's enough cushioning for my buttocks. I don't get so much shock absorption. So from the floor right up to my lumbar spine. And sitting on the floor, definitely for sure, you're going to start going, leaning towards one side here, and there. So I don't encourage sitting against the wall and sitting on the floor. Better to sit, put your stuff on the table, sit on a chair. That's the best way to work.
Okay, and a quick follow-up question with that. Okay, so
yes.
talking about sitting on the floor, about sitting cross-legged.
Okay, cross-legged on the floor, all right, okay. So again, sitting cross-legged, not a good idea as well, because that changes the position of my hips and my pelvis, right? So if I cross my legs, immediately that's going to cause some muscles to tighten up over on my hips, because the way that I fashion and the way that I cross my legs, that's going to change the position of the way that my hip joints work. It's going to open up certain muscles too much, and it's going to tighten up certain muscles when you adapt to that position. So again, sitting cross-legged, that can also cause a bit of misalignment on the hips and the spine as well. That's why we always encourage sitting 90 degrees with your feet on the chair, with your feet on the floor. Crossing legs, whether you're sitting on the floor and you're sitting on the chair, is never a good idea, because that can cause some ligaments to actually be loose, some tendons to be loose, some muscles to be tight as well. Yes, best thing is sit on a chair.
Okay, great. Thank you. So, if you don't mind, we have one or two more questions.
Yes, sure.
One question, and this is from Miss Amy, another one of our teachers. And she asks, is there any specific exercises for those who have to stay rooted on their chair to work and are already suffering from sciatica?
All right. Okay. So this is, yes. Okay. So if you are going to spend a lot of time sitting down, right? So remember the pelvic rocking exercise that I was showing earlier, and that was just a photo. Maybe I can show you on video, right? So what we're going to do is, before, I'm just going to take the mic out. I'm going to get you to actually sit on a chair, and we're going to actually change the position of our hips back and forward. So let me just take this off. I'll just show it to you. So here, so my hips forwards this way. You're going to be sitting long time in a meeting. Push forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, and backwards. All right. So maybe I will get my colleague here to demonstrate while I narrate to you. Okay. Okay, just hang on. Okay, so I'll just get my colleague here to sort of demonstrate, all right? So this is Colin right here. I'll just narrate, right? So what we want to be doing is actually pushing our hips forwards and back. So, okay, let's say Colin has been sitting in a meeting for a very long time. He can't get out of the meeting. The boss is just telling him what to do. You can't leave that meeting. Okay, look, so what I'm going to get him to do is just push his hips forwards. And when he does that, he actually introduces a curve to his spine. So when I push my hip forwards, I'm actually relaxing certain muscles of my spine. And when I'm going backwards as well, so we push backwards, he's also relaxing those back muscles. And the way that I move my hips forwards and back, that's going to alter certain properties in my muscles. That's going to give some relaxation to the spine and the body as well, because I don't need then to get up as frequently. I don't need to be getting up, moving around. I can actually just do this, and this actually helps with the movement. It changes the movement of my spine as well. All right. So in terms of sciatica, so sciatica can be caused by a lot of factors. So it could be maybe, firstly, let's say the wallet syndrome that we were talking about, because if you put something behind on your back pocket, that can actually compress the sciatic nerve, or you could be having some lower back pain. And again, remember the structure of our spine. We have a lot of nerves exiting the spine. A disc could be actually pressing on that nerve, and that nerve can actually be the sciatic nerve, coming up from that nerve roots and causing all these impingement as well. So exercises wise, I would say we don't encourage a lot of bending forwards type of exercises. So you want to be actually doing a lot of extension exercises to relieve the tension of the lower back. All right. So you don't want to be, say, for example, functionally, if something drops on the floor, I don't want to just be simply bending forwards to pick something up. You got to really angle yourself properly. Squat first before you pick something up from the floor. Don't carry heavy things, and lift heavy stuff as well. All right. So that will actually relieve the compression. Again, sitting on hard surfaces, avoid that, because that can also worsen the sciatica problem. And don't put anything on the back pocket. Don't sit down for a long time. Get up and move around, or do the pelvic rocking exercises. Yep.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you. One,
Yes.
sorry, one last question from the
Okay,
audience.
no problem. Yes.
This is from Hillary, and she
Yes.
asked, "Is doing neck cracks good? I do it when my neck feels good. A lot of people, they like to crack their back,
Yep.
and then even when I do some exercises, so then my knee will crack a little bit.
Yep. Yep.
Tell us a bit
Okay.
about that.
Yes, sure. I mean, things like cracking your neck and your back. Sometimes if, let's say, the joints are a bit locked, right? So that's why people feel good, when they crack their necks and their back, because you're releasing those joints. Or sometimes it could be air bubbles as well. Just the same thing like when we crack our knuckles and you feel good after that. It's because the joints are stiff. I don't want to say that cracking is bad, but if too much of cracking, that can actually lead to a laxity of things like your ligaments. And your ligaments are important in your body is because they provide stability and support. So if you do strengthening exercises along with your cracking and stuff like that, you complement them with each other, then that's fine. That's okay. All right. But if you're going to go for, constant cracking here and there, what could possibly happen is it leads to those instability and laxity of these structures, and that in turn can cause a lot of tension in other areas of your body as well. So be very careful with that. Some people feel good. Most people feel good with the cracking. I feel good after cracking as well, but I've got to supplement them with the exercises. All right. You got to find a good balance. Yeah.
And I think that
Yes.
when you crack, also you don't try not to do it very violently, because I feel like
Yeah. Correct. And a lot of them require a lot of high velocity thrust movements. So you just got to be really careful.
I feel like those are so dangerous.
Yes.
Okay, well, the teacher said thank you very much. I think that's a lot
Yes.
of help. And I
Yes.
think for me, when I started, actually, just so everyone knows, I actually go to them sometimes for physiotherapy. I haven't been recently, because what I
Yes.
like about physiotherapy is that if you have an issue, you go and then they give you
Yep.
the exercises. So it's not like you have to keep going back for treatment.
Yep.
It's just a
Yep.
matter of building the proper habit within your
Yep.
own, the way that you sit, stand, walk, do all these things.
Yep.
And for me, I think, like, because I had a sprained ankle and I came to see you guys, and then what you did was you gave me this exercise where I have to stand on one leg. And I think for a lot of people, the problem with having these exercises is that you like forget to do them. Your physio says every day, you're like, sure, I'll do every day, and then you do one kind of thing, right? So that it doesn't actually help. But then for me, what I was really found was very helpful was like, in order to build a habit, I would have a certain trigger, right? So last time I used to work in an office where I had to take a lift. So every time I would press the button and waiting for the lift, while I'm waiting for the lift, I have to do my exercise and on one leg.
Oh, that's good. Yes.
And so for like teachers and all that, those of you working at JEDEF, like maybe in between your classes, so in between, you have that 5-minute break. It's a good, that's a good time to do a little bit of a stretch, right? So you can do it continuously throughout the day. To me, it's just about sort of like having these triggers. And Maggie, do you have any other tips for building the habit?
Okay, all right. Yes. So a lot of our patients also struggle with the same thing. Like, they say, I don't have time to do my exercises, what can I actually do to improve, my consistency with the exercises? Well, I always tell my patients this, right? So imagine if, let's say, you go to see a doctor or a GP doctor, and they say you got a case of cough or cold and flu, and they give you certain medications, right? And you've got to complete those medications, those course, as let's say a course of antibiotic or your medications to feel better. we don't skip our medications when the doctor gives them. It's the same thing with physio. So when we prescribe those exercises, these are like your medications. So you've got to do them. And you've got to, tell yourself that, okay, let's say if I come for physio, I'm only there for 45 minutes or 1 hour. So the rest of the day, I have 20 over hours in the rest of the day. If I go to physio once or twice a week, there's 2 hours of exercises. So if I can do them on a consistent basis, I need to do them more frequently. That's a good reminder to tell myself that my body also needs some sort of exercise. All right. So it's not going to work with just 1 hour physio, 2 hours of physio in that entire week. So it's just about education and also awareness as well, to actually let your body know that, okay, it's okay for me to do these exercises. And you're going to set aside time, just like how we set aside time to reset our posture. You can also set aside time in your phones, and in your smartwatches, and say that, okay, first thing in the morning, I always tell my patients, if I get you to do twice a day, first thing in the morning, last thing at night, is first thing in the morning when you wake up from your sleep, set aside a bit of time for your exercises. At night, just before you go to bed, do your set of exercises as well. A lot of people struggle with nighttime because when you get back from work, it's like, oh, I don't want to do the exercises, I'm tired, but if you think it's for the sake of my neck or my back and to feel better, and you actually do feel better when you are more compliant with the exercises. So not just conscious reminder, but also understanding the importance of exercises that you do at physiotherapy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like maybe the first time, every time you do it, you don't always feel the difference. But then after a while, like there's actually a huge difference. You feel so much stronger and able, but it just takes some time. So
correct.
must be patient.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So with that, I mean, I would also like to, add on that, for all of you that are here today, whether you're a teacher, you're a parent, or you're a student, right? Because you guys have attended this talk, Synapse has a special offer for all of you Champaka people out there. So like Christabel said, we are just 2 minutes away from you guys. We are very nearby. We are going to give you guys a free 15-minute postural screening at our clinic, because we have this posture grid guideline that we can actually put you up against, and we can actually tell whether is your head falling in front too much, is your shoulder, one shoulder higher than the other. So we can actually give you some tips as well for that first 15 minutes. After that, if you need some sort of treatment or, sort of pain relief or exercises that you want to know more, it's 150 ringgit for the first session. And because it's December, we also have another promo where we are offering 12 sessions for 1212 ringgit. So 1,212 ringgit. So that's about 100 ringgit per session. All right. So we are also in the midst of, I'll speak to Christabel on the side later on as well. We're planning to offer Champaka School community special corporate price as well for you guys to come over to have your physiotherapy done. And I would like to emphasize on this, physiotherapy is not just when I have pain and then, I have some sort of injury, then I go for physio. We are also gearing towards more of a prevention concept, right? So prevention is always better than cure. If you start having, like I mentioned just now, some sort of neck aches and back aches or soreness, that is time that you should get some, medical attention, into your routine, and as a physio, we can actually teach you the right posture, the right way to sit, to stand, the right exercises for you as well to prevent future, more detrimental issues to your back and to your neck. Yeah.
Okay, and in order to do so, to get to redeem your free 15-minute posture analysis, you wanted to send an email from their Champaka account to...
Yes, to should I say it to you right now, or should I type it out? Or okay, it's a...
Yes, sorry.
Yes, it's a enquiry.damansara@synapse.com.my.
Okay, so it's inquiry with an EN, right?
Yes, sorry, yes, inquiry with an EN. QUIRY. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So send an email from your Champaka account, to enquiry.damansara@synapse.com.my, and then put your phone number so that they can help you arrange a session. Okay.
Yes.
And it's, even though in CMCO you guys are still open, right?
Yes, we're still open, and don't worry about, we're still following the strict guidelines, as advised by the government. We always disinfect our beds and our equipment, our clinic, and we're constantly wearing. I'm not wearing a mask right now because I need to speak to you guys, but we are always wearing masks. All our staff are wearing masks as well. So don't worry, we're open as usual, Monday to Fridays, 9 to 6, on Saturdays, 9 to 1. Yep.
Okay. Do you have any
Yep.
last pieces of wisdom for us?
Well, just the first things first is get your workstation right? So, a lot of us are, I know it's a bit of, how do you say, a bit of an emotional sort of stressful situation for everybody to be constantly working from home. And then I think there was one time where a lot of us could actually go back. We are constantly working, so we're lucky enough to actually go back into the clinic every day. But like the school sort of community, few months without school, few months into school. So the best thing that you can do at home is to actually modify your workspace. That's, first things first. Get your laptops, your tablets on a table. Again, that is 60% of your problem solved. If you get it at eye level, that's 70% of your problem solved. So again, if you're going to spend a lot of time sitting down, sit right. If you're going to spend a lot of time standing up, stand right. If you're going to spend a lot of time lifting things, you got to lift right. So that's the only thing. And do the exercises from a physiotherapist to everybody. Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I think thank you so much. That's
Yep. Thank
time.
you.
We really really appreciate it, and
Thank
I
you
think
so much.
great tips.
Yeah.
To everyone, this video will continue to be up on our website, so please look at it again to remind yourself of the exercises when you're feeling any pain, or just try to sit right, stand right, and all those things. Okay, so
Yes.
thank you so much,
Thank
Maggie.
you so much. Yeah. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks and bye. Bye everyone.
Bye.
Yes.